Wake up, wake up. It's a Friday. I'm here at Levi's. Damon's in his home studio. It's Wake Up, brought to you by, as you can see, Sam's Chowder House. We're going to talk a little Niners, maybe a little Warriors. What was Harbaugh doing last night? Brock's giving away what? Let's go.
Friday, December 20th, and it is great to have you here on Wake Up. As Larry said, we're brought to you by Sam's Chowder House. Again, huge Christmas meal served next week. Give the person prepping that Christmas meal a day off before or after Christmas by taking them down to Sam's Chowder House. Heck, maybe even get to Sam's Chowder House this weekend and find the best stocking stuffer in the Bay Area, a gift certificate to Sam's Chowder House. That lobster roll works for you all year long. The cioppino, the paella, it's all fantastic. Again, Larry and I, we would love to give each of you a Toyota. Hell, we'd love to give each of you a bowl of paella. This is your YouTube bowl of paella. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here all season long. We got a lot of repeat customers, and we're running out of football season, Larry, and I don't even necessarily know if that's a bad thing for the 49ers. This is a whole year that has just been off kilter the whole way through, and it coming to an end and them hitting the reset button is probably more important than any single accomplishment. Like, there's really nothing left to learn this year. Like, the only mission is just get out of it, right? Like, here we are to preview 49ers and Dolphins. My preview is officially nobody get hurt, don't lose the game. There you go. That's the best thing that could happen to the 49ers is they lose the game and no one gets hurt. That's where they are.
There's always something to play for. That was one of the things that John Lynch said this morning on KMBR. He's like, man, you play for the respect of your peers. You also find out this time of the year about character. Everybody's happy when you're winning. Everybody loves everybody when you're going to the Super Bowl. You find out about who's really, really in it when times are tough. And that's in sports, that's in life. You find out who your friends are once you go through some tough times. You find out who who's really loyal to you when a lot of people bail. And I'm sure it's an interesting time. It's a tough time, but they're going to find out in the next month who wants to play football, as Nick Bosa said, who wants to be a 49er. And there are some things that I think need to get done here as far as business in the last 3 weeks. Like, for example, throw the ball a lot to Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing. Why? Because you don't know what Ayuk or Debo or CMC or what your receiving core is going to have next year. And you got to know going into the offseason, do I need to go into free agency and bring in guys? Do I need to go into the draft and find receivers? Or guess what? Do I have them here? And their names are Jacob Cowing and Ricky Pearsall. So those two guys, I think, need to be featured.
Though, Larry. The funny thing is I think that if you do that, and I do suggest you do that, you're getting closer to losing an NFL game than winning it, right? I agree with you. Feed Pearsall, feed Cowing, see what you got. I doubt either eats particularly well unless it's an off day from Miami. Because, the hard times, hey, they've been here since week 3, brother. It's not like the hard times just moved in and now we're going to find out who can play through hard times. They've been here all year long. And I love the lip service, and now we're going to find out who really wants this. We know the one guy who doesn't want it, Devondre Campbell, and he's gone now. Like, I've never looked at the 49ers and really questioned player integrity, the want, the commitment to being a Niner. Like, none of that to me. I don't think we need a cultural reexamination of this football team. Without Garendo, they're in trouble. Without wide receivers who are proven at an NFL level, they're kind of in trouble in this game. Now, the best thing is Miami is in a might as well lay down and die for draft position type of situation too. Now, Mike McDaniel, still early in his coaching tenure, is, I think, looking to establish those cultural things. Look, if the 49ers run into a win, nobody should be that upset. But there is more value to their future in defeat than victory. I really believe that at this point in time. There's not a lot that I need to be convinced of from the players that we know are coming back. to the point where I would even sit Brock. I really would. Why risk injury to him?
I mean, there's things that I'd like to get done in the last part of the year, but I don't think I would sit Brock until the last game. I think I would play Brock and then I would play Tanner Mordecai against Arizona, but there's only 3 games left. The Niners are 6-8. They're tied with Miami, Indy, Cincy, and Dallas at 6-8. So if they lose this game, they will jump ahead of Miami in the draft order. I don't know. If there was a huge difference between the player you could get at 8 as opposed to 15, and there might be. I'm not saying that there isn't. Then maybe it's worth it to be at 8. I'm looking at the Tankathon mock draft. They have Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders going 1 to the Raiders, Cam Ward going 2 to the Giants, and they have the Niners sitting at right now 15 overall, taking Mikael Williams from Georgia. So if let's just say you moved up to 10, maybe you get like a Malachi Starks or somebody like that from Georgia who's really special safety. I don't know, but it doesn't hurt to have a higher pick, but it also doesn't hurt to establish some good production from some of your younger players. So they've played almost all of their younger players on defense. On offense, they really haven't played their younger players that much. In this game, for example, I would love to see, or this last stretch of the season, I'd love to see Drake Nugent get some run at center. Love to see Izzy Abanikanda get some run. I want to see Tanner Mordecai start week 18 against Arizona because I think it's important to find out what he is. And then other than that, I want to see a lot of Cowing and a lot of Pearsall, and let's force the ball to these guys, force feed these guys, and find out, because you don't know who you may have to lean on these guys. And if they look great, maybe that's a good thing. If they look horrible, maybe that's a good indicator that you can't lean on them and you need to go in a different direction. So I think you got to find out about your young receivers. There aren't a lot of young players other than those 2 guys and Izzy Abanikanda, Drake Nugent. That's really it on defense.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Maybe a little Jalen Graham.
I do. I agree with you. But the time to find out if these young kids could play from scrimmage again was week 2. So let's say they actually discover Jacob Cowing can really play from scrimmage now. Well, it's all too little, too late. It almost makes Kyle and his weekly evaluation of who I need up to win this week look bad if those guys come out and play great, right?
Not necessarily, because they're ready to go. I mean, the way it is. It's December. Just because you're ready to go in December doesn't mean you were ready to go in April.
True, especially for young players.
I should say in September. So, I mean, like a guy like Cowing, I don't think at this point we're going to see anything from anybody that makes you go, "Oh my God, where the hell was this guy?" You know what I mean? They don't have that kind of guy sitting on the side. But
were you there, Larry? Were you there the week in a game that didn't matter against the Dolphins, where Izzy Abracadabra or whatever his last name is set the NFL single game rushing record? Like, okay, we're probably not getting one of those.
But I mean, Izzy is that guy. I mean, Izzy Abanikanda was a mid-round pick who was enormously productive in college in a big conference, who also runs sub 4.3. So he is super intriguing. But they don't have a lot other than him, Mordecai, who also is intriguing because Mordecai actually played some good college football, and let's find out what he is. But yeah, I think that's what this last stretch is. Find out about Mordecai, find out about Abanikanda, find out about Cowing, find out about Pearsall. If they had a good young tight end, you could say, hey, find out about that guy, but they really don't. And all the young players on defense have already played. Evan Anderson's playing regularly. All their young players play. I think I would like to see them sit Warner. And, the other thing I want to see, and we'll talk about this, but I'm okay with Greenlaw playing in this game because I think he needs to find out for himself, can he bounce back after a game and play a second game? I think he has to show that. But if I'm the Niners, and John Lynch said it today on CanBR, he said, they really love Greenlaw. He says, we love Dre. We intend to keep him a Niner for a long, long time. He's a special player. He's a free agent this offseason, Damon. I would sit him and sign him. I would not play him anymore this year.
Yeah.
After today. I mean, after Sunday. I'd let him play Sunday, and then I'd shut him down, and I would sign him to an extension. That's like my absolute number one thing to do.
I would give him full guarantee that you are a part of this team's future. You are a huge part of its past, and you're a made guy, So yeah, you're coming back, and get that deal done quickly. Reassurances. I mean, I know all agents are supposed to be suspicious until they see a signature on a contract, but I think the 49ers do have a reputation of being a team of their word, and they should shut down Dre Greenlaw and just say, look, man, this is going to be good for you in week 1 next year, more than playing out the stretch will be good for you in week 1. It really will. And I don't think they're going to have to do much to convince him of that. He's a smart guy. So it's how do you end the year with competitive dignity, yet not hurt your draft position as you're evaluating a few guys? It's the job that remains. It's not nearly the job you wanted at this point in the year, but it's the job that remains. Larry, I've been watching you. I've been watching, just sports talk in general, not just around the 49ers, but around every single NFL team right now that didn't have the year that they thought they were going to have. It's been a big week of questions, right? Like, people got a lot of hours of content to fill too. And there's a lot of moving parts on a football team. So you do want to walk around the car and look at it a few times. When it comes to the 49ers, I've heard and read columns on special teams and Sorensen and defense and tackling. And is it early season secondary miscommunication that did the 49ers in? Was it the offensive line, injuries, Shanahan's writer's block? Like, there's a lot of things that went into why this year didn't go the right way. But to me, like, having thought about it and done a show about how the future isn't as dark as you think it is just the other day, Larry, if you really just wanted to put it on one thing, it's been the wide receivers. The 49ers' problems are in their wide receiver group, and they're more exemplified there than I think in any other position group. Yeah, defensive line and line of scrimmage in both directions can get better, but it's just these wide receivers have sucked. And when you think about it, with hindsight always being 20/20, and they did draft Ricky Pearsall, so maybe they felt this a little bit. But I thought that Ricky Pearsall was more of an answer to we don't know what Ayuk is doing more than it was we are scared shitless of what we just saw in this Super Bowl. The 49ers got shut down by Kansas City corners in such a dramatic way, and it felt like they sort of whistled through that. Like, no big deal. We're going to be okay. And then this year it all caught up to them. I mean, I saw the San Francisco Chronicle column by Eric Branch that looked at Brock versus zone coverage, Brock versus man coverage. Brock versus zone coverage, basically the exact same guy he was last year. Identical numbers. His man coverage passes are way down, fell off a cliff. And we know that Brock isn't the one who fell off the cliff. It's the wide receivers. They're the ones who screwed this season up. That's where the biggest problem is. Of course, you want a better offensive line, a better defensive line, better tackling. But these wide receivers are where the whole year ended for the 49ers, I think, more than anything else. I mean, you can re-examine it all the way you want. Debo sucks. Ayuk was out. Pearsall did nothing. That's your season right there.
I know I don't look at it that as the wide receivers. I mean, I know the wide receivers haven't been good, right? I mean, Ayuk wasn't the same guy ever as he was last year. He just was at such a high level last year. He never got to that level this year, and then he got hurt. And Pearsall's a rookie. Cowing's a rookie. Debo has had incredible regression. I mean, he's just not doing a whole lot. Brock has had some regression for sure. He's running more. His offensive line has not been good. He's been pressured at the 7th highest rate in the league. So, it's all broken down, but it's just that's even just part of it. They've just faced a ton of adversity. I mean, if you really look at it, I mean, there are mechanisms within the game that are built in to put a drag on on the teams at the top. And what is that? That's the schedule, right? So Like next year, the schedule they play is going to be a whole lot easier than the schedule they played this year because they'll play, they won't play the first place schedule like they played this year. And it really does matter because the first place schedule is much more difficult. So that's one. That's like a drag that's normally put on teams that finish first. That's fine. That's normal. That's expected. But then if you look at the Niners, they are they played the longest last year, and then they are the least rested team in football this year. They were on the NFL used to care more. I mean, this is going to come off like sour grapes, and I don't want it to because I'm not blaming the season on this. It's really more about the fact that CMC, Ayuk, and Debo last year had 40 touchdowns. This year they have 2 combined. That's massive. That's astronomical turnaround. That's a huge fall from grace. That's the number one reason. Then mix in tragedies and all that, all these other things. The missing on 20 picks in the first 3 rounds during this regime, that has absolutely come home to roost. There's lots of things involved here, right? Going for Hargrave and then having Hargrave not be great and then get hurt, that has hurt them dramatically. There's been lots of contributing factors, but the rest one is really interesting. I was listening to Greg Papa and Tim Ryan driving down to Santa Clara yesterday, and Greg was talking about how the 49ers are minus 22, Damon, on the year in rest. And it really is pretty significant. It's the worst rest disadvantage a team has had in the NFL in the last 20 years. The 49ers this year, Damon, played 6 teams off a bye or a mini bye. And I looked at those games. That was week 2 against Minnesota, a loss. Week 7 against Kansas City, a loss. Week 8 against Dallas, a win. Week 11 was their biggest rest disparity against Seattle. And what happened in that game? They totally ran out of gas in the fourth quarter, had absolutely nothing on defense and lost. Week 13 against Buffalo, a loss. Week 14 was a mini bye against the Bears. That was obviously a win, but the Bears are really bad. And then they have one more. Week 18 against Arizona. The Niners play on Monday against Detroit in week 17. So week 18, Cardinals will have an extra day of rest. They play 7 games this year against teams off a bye or a mini bye. They've played 6 already, and they're 2-4 in those games. So that rest thing is pretty amazing. The Niners also have played 12 playoff games in the last 5 seasons. That's almost the equivalent of a 6th season in 5. So that starts to catch up with you. But I think the other thing, when Kevin and I looked at some of the numbers, this is astonishing, Damon. Listen to this. We wanted to look up how the teams in the NFL are doing that had the most rest versus how the teams are doing in the NFL that have had the least rest. And this is what we found. These are the 5 most rested teams in the NFL in 2024. Baltimore, they have plus 16 rest days on their opponents this year. They're 9-5. New England's 3-11, but it's the least talented roster in the NFL. You could give them months of rest and it won't help them. Minnesota, they're 12-2. Philadelphia, they're 12-2 and have won 10 straight. Green Bay, they're 10-4. I mean, you could argue that outside of Buffalo, those are the teams that have the most momentum right now towards a Super Bowl, and they're all the most rested teams. Here are the least rested teams. The Niners were the least rested, minus 21 or 22 days of rest on their opponents. The Niners had 8 games this year with a net rest disadvantage, and they had 2 games this year where they had a net rest advantage. They went 2-0 in the net rest advantage games. But here are the other teams, the least rested teams in football. Niners are the least, then Denver, then Indy, then Seattle, then Chargers. Now, the Chargers won last night, but they had lost 3 out of 4 coming in and were kind of fading. Seattle, Indy, Denver. I mean, Denver's played pretty good. They lost last night. But, I mean, all those teams, there's not one of those teams that you would say, man, they're absolutely peaking. You know what I mean?
Right.
But on On the top of that list, Baltimore's probably peaking. Minnesota's probably peaking. Philly looks like they're peaking. Green Bay's peaking. So the rest thing, and then Kev looked up these numbers of the teams that have an 8-game or more net rest edge. They're 46-24. They have a 657 win percentage on the year. And teams that were 8 points negative net rest disadvantage, 48-50, sub 500.
Well, look, I mean, they fit the entire season into 18 weeks. So to say, the 49ers have had more than 3 weeks of disadvantage that's very significant. A guy here, Chudley, says, Larry keeps whining about rest. Enough. We know excuses are for losers. No. These aren't excuses. This explains what's happened. Explanations are for the educated. The dumbest thing that you could say is Shanahan sucks, Purdy sucks, duh. But you said nothing. You said nothing in either of those sentiments. You just expressed immature frustration with a lack of understanding. The reason why I'm guessing you're watching today, Chudley, is you'd like a better understanding of what's going on with your football team. That's what Larry and I are trying to explain to you. This rest thing is being harped upon because it is significant. And it doesn't just correlate with the year that the Niners are having. Look at all the examples that Larry just gave. Better rest, better season. Less successful.
This is all a Warren Sharp article. Warren Sharp, genius. But the biggest story is not that the Niners, the Niner thing is secondary, right? It's just the Niners are this year, we're in the crosshairs of this. But the bigger story is the Sharp, and Sharp outlined it. And it's a great story and everybody should read it. And it got kind of buried. Why? Because the NFL is pretty powerful and they're very tied to everything. Nobody wants to talk about the NFL in any down way in any way. But the NFL's partners, the NFL used to, why is this a big deal? It's not a big deal because people say, oh, it's gone on for years. But no, it hasn't gone on for years. The NFL used to tell their TV partners, screw you, our integrity matters. But as the dollars have gone up and Amazon's jumped in and the money is astronomical, now the TV partners are dictating to the league, we want the best matchups. And the league's coming back and saying, no, we can't have the 49ers driving, flying over here and playing all these games. And it's a huge screw the 49ers. We want the best matchups for our sponsors. Well, but the 49ers are going to be screwed. No, it doesn't matter what team gets screwed. We want the best matchups. And the NFL has said, fine, we will give you the best matchups now. And that's why we're seeing this. That's why the Niner rest disadvantage is the worst in 20 years, because it was 20 years ago. They didn't pay any attention to it at all. And now in the last 20 years, they have paid attention to it and they've been very cognizant. Not, the NFL wants everything to be even. If the Niners or the Steelers start practice 30 minutes before they're allowed to, there's penalties and fines and, there's no competitive advantage gotten in this league on the down low. There is no down low. Everything's out and open for everybody to see. The players union, the players, it's scheduled, it's filmed, it's, there's a million checks and balances. But this rest thing is the league basically saying, hey, we want all this revenue. And hey, guys, just play the games. But it's gotten to a point where if the Niners and the Ravens had played in the Super Bowl this year, the Niners would have gotten there despite a 37-day disadvantage on their opponents compared to the Ravens. So their road to the Super Bowl would have been this year was dramatically more difficult than Baltimore's. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think that there is a single sport that we care about and watch and cover where the concept of erosion decides who will be champion more than football. You got the season eroding underneath you. You got your own roster getting banged up week to week. Like you just said, you've got, rest disadvantages, which are significant, not just for the 49ers, but around the league. You got a lot working against you. And, look, again, some people a guy named Astro. 4 division games with blown fourth quarter leads have nothing to do with rest of. So you're telling me the way you perform in the fourth quarter has nothing to do with how well rested you are? I don't.
The 49ers' main problem on defense is that they fade in the fourth quarter. The Niners have a top 3 defense under Sorensen.
Their offense too.
But I mean, defensively, they look bad to me. And if you told me that we're watching a top 5 defense or a top 3 defense, I would say no way. That's crazy. But what it is that when you need them in the key moments, we went through this a few weeks ago. They fade really badly. All right, I'm not saying that this is the reason the 49ers we're not, we're just having a discussion about this rest factor. I'm not saying that's the factor. That, I made a list of why the Niners backslid this year. Quick perusal of the list.
I got it too. Let's go over
Niners red zone went from number 1 in the league to the worst in the league. So on both sides of the ball. They're disaster in the red zone, offensively, defensively, and so it makes their yard numbers. I've never seen a team since I've been covering football whose yard numbers and points numbers are so dramatically different as the 49ers are on both sides of the ball. What does it tell you? They are a tire fire in the red zone on offense and on defense. So that's number 1. That really stands out because they were awesome in this area last year. Number 2, special teams has been consistently bad all year. Consistently bad. Number 3, John Lynch in the front office. I love John Lynch. Great guy, and I think he's a great face of the franchise. Bottom line, though, is the scorecard, and they've missed 20 times in the first 3 rounds in the draft during this regime. 20. That's too many. You can't miss 20 times. You can miss 5 times. You can miss 10 times. You get to 20 times, you've missed too many. It's like turnovers in the NBA. You want 5? No problem. You're great. We'll take 5. 10, you know what? It's no big deal. 20, we got fucking problems. We get to 30, and we got to sit people down.
Yeah, I mean, missing 20 players, you only play 22 players, 11 on offense, 11 on defense. You basically blew a football team.
20 misses in the first 3 rounds. If you don't believe me, go look it up. Not an excuse, but a reason. The Niner DBs this year, very young defensive backfield, and there were some growing pains there at times. Another reason, Niner defensive line has regressed significantly. When they went to the Super Bowl initially under, Shanahan and Lynch, they had a young Nick Bosa with D Ford and a young Buckner Armstead tandem. Now they've got Malik Collins and Jordan Elliott inside. They've got older Bosa getting paid a ton and Leonard Floyd. It's not that the line is embarrassing now. It's just it was awesome before, and it's not awesome now. The linebackers have gone from the best in football to really depleted and banged up. They miss Azeez Al-Shaair. They miss Greenlaw badly, and Campbell was a circus, and we said it all year, and they stayed with him way too long. But the number 1 reason is the Niner weapons have fallen apart. CMC, Debo, and Ayuk, 40 touchdowns last year, 2 this year. Huge factor. The rest factor is a factor for sure. When you factor in the playoff games the Niners have played, the long offseason that they had because of the Super Bowl, the unbelievable rest disadvantage that they had with the scheduling this year, you all cook that all together, and that's a lot of adversity. We haven't mentioned any of the tragedies connecting to Mooney, Pearsall, Trent Williams. I mean, that's real life. Those things all happened to this
so
team
here
this
we
year.
go. Your look and list, Larry, was very analytical. Mine is a little bit more general, but listen to this. Again, you want to say this is making excuses? Fine. It's also a list of what happened. So you'll have to give me that too. Number 1, I don't even have numbers attached to these. These are bullet points. So here we go. They did everything they could to complicate the offseason when it came to negotiating how to get into this season. Then they got a bad break with Ricky Pearsall shooting, and then Brandon Ayuk gave them next to the same production as Pearsall right out of the rip before he got hurt. Every offensive star has been sidelined at some point in time due to an injury. CMC, Kittle, Ayuk, Debo, Purdy, Jordan Mason, Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, Jennings even missed a game, I believe. Bosa missed time. His sacks are way down. Ward's having a very trying season on and off the field, like Larry said. You lose Hargrave. You don't see Gross Matos on the field until a couple of weeks ago. You got Fred Warner's broken ankle slowing him down. You got Greenlaw playing a grand total of 3/4 of football so far. They're stuck with Campbell for reasons that were hard to understand. Hufanga has been one step forward, two steps back in his return the entire season. They were using a third kicker and a second fucking punter at one point in time this year, for goodness sakes. Jair Brown had a sophomore slump. Anything else? I mean, all of that, plus the rest stuff, equals it ain't your year. You know, it really isn't that Kyle forgot how to do this, or Brock isn't a good quarterback, or just this offensive line, or blah, blah, blah. There are so many forces that worked against the 49ers putting 3 good weeks together, much less a good football season together. So
the question is this, though. The question is this. If you had to pick one, what's your one?
Oh, it's the wide receivers. Like I said, it's wide receiver production is what killed this season, I think, more than any other element of what poisoned the season. Other things,
I'll go.
Other things put the 49ers in the hospital, but it was the wide receiver production that killed them.
Fair. That's fair. I'm going to go, and I always see it this way, but this is kind of the way I see it. I'm going to go with the 20 missed picks. It's a lot of picks, man.
It is.
Think about that. I mean, if you had 10 missed picks, half as many as you have.
Larry, how many?
Imagine how much different this football team would be if you had 10 players on it right now who were drafted in rounds 1, 2, or 3 that were playing significant roles for you right now. That's half. That's just taking you made 20 mistakes. That's only wiping away half of your mistakes.
How about
You're
this?
Still getting a crappy hit rate there, but you know what I mean? I mean, it's like, that's a lot of mistakes, man, because there's only about 8 or 9 hits there.
Let's just say Ronnie Bell were one of those hits.
Now, he was a day 3 guy.
Okay. All right.
Like Danny Gray.
Okay.
Drake Jackson.
Better example there. Let's say Danny Gray, at this point in time, is a Pro Bowl wide receiver. We wouldn't be talking this conversation at all, and the 49ers might be a 9 to 10 win team right now with just one guy giving them Pro Bowl level wide receiver production.
What if Drake Jackson was a beast?
What if? If? How many of those 20 picks, Larry, do you know how many specifically were wide receivers? We can probably come up with it, right?
I have the list. I wrote it. I'll give it to you. Here it is. Here's the list. How many are wide receivers?
How many in this?
Jalen Hurd, Dante Pettis, Danny Gray, Ricky Pearsall.
If one of those four were a better player than they were this whole year, might be different. I mean, I did a dissection here. Because I did a segment. It's the Niners aren't as bad as you think they are, right? I got 4 plays, which had they gone the other way, the Niners are a 10-win team going to Miami. 4 plays. They don't give up the special teams big return that got you beat in LA earlier in this year. You win that game. Brock doesn't get picked off late against LA last Thursday. You probably win that game, although there are more steps after it. Every other one of these directly results in a game-deciding score that went against the Niners in a one-possession game. You don't give up a 97-yard touchdown to Justin Jefferson back in week 2. That's a win. If the Vikings don't have those 7 points, the Niners are winning that game. Had Devondre Campbell not given up that 50-yard touchdown scamper to Kyler Murray on the very first play of that Cardinal game, you win that game. That was a 1-point game. That's 4 wins. You give the Niners 4 more wins right now, they are leading the NFC. So again, has it been a bad, disappointing, down year? Yes. They're 4 plays away from being a first-place football team. That's how slim the margins are.
Yeah,
in
I mean,
this league.
I'll say this too. I mean, when you are on the top, it feels like you're always going to be on the top. And when you're not, and when you're when you're trying to get up on top, it feels like you'll never get there at times. And the reality is that the team that's on top is not as far ahead as you think, and the teams that are chasing that team on top are not nearly as far away as they may feel like they are.
Right.
It's the NFL, and that's
Here's-
why
Hold on, I get a visual aid. Here's the best team in football. Here's the worst team in football.
Yeah, I mean,
here's the best team in the NBA. Here's the worst team in the NBA. Here's the best team in Major League Baseball. Here's the worst team in Major League Baseball. Every other league is like this. Best and worst in football are this close.
Very well. The NFL is easily the most competitive league in America, I think, as far as the pro leagues, because of what you're saying. And also, we see a lot. I mean, there's also, you're not playing the same schedule. I mean, it comes across like everything's even, but it's not even. And where it's not even is the schedule and the rest. And that's why I was highlighting those things, because that's where the league can kind of set things up. If you don't believe it, go check the trends. When the Jets got Aaron Rodgers, the NFL really badly wanted the Jets to be in the playoffs and engage that massive New York advertising audience. And the Jets had rest advantages in like 14 games, and they still didn't make it. So it just, the league can do things and stack things the way they want, if they want. I'm not saying the 49ers are basically they're a victim of their own success. They are one of the NFL's most marketable brands. They're one of the NFL's most iconic franchises. And they've built their franchise, Damon, with so many star players that they're demanded to be in prime time. And when you're demanded to be in prime time, there's a rest disadvantage. And then, you just mix in the fact that, you had the long off season, the Super Bowl, the whole thing. There's always that disadvantage because you're starting your off season later, but they had a rest disadvantage coming in, but then they had a huge rest disadvantage in the year, and it was just too much to overcome. But the number one reason, because I won't point the finger at rest as the number one reason, though it was a factor, it's the missing of the picks. Because if you did hit on these picks, if you hit on some crazy rate, let's say you hit on 18 of 20, you would be the best team in football by a wide margin.
You're a dynasty. Really, that's how you become a dynasty. That's how you.
Everybody's looking at you, Chiefs. Everybody's looking up at the Niners if they hit on a ridiculous high rate. But the fact that they've missed on 20, and they've only been running the show since 2018, right?
Since 2019, I don't think there's a lot of debate to be had here. I guess it's tough to stack who your favorite didn't win the Super Bowl team is. You could have said it was the Bills the last few years, maybe it was the Ravens, but I think if you even measure it just by something as a unique concept of wins and losses, since 2019, the Kansas City Chiefs have the most wins in the NFL, and the 49ers, I believe, are in second place in terms of most wins in the NFL since 2019. And the fact that they've been able to do that with the final pick of the draft as your starting quarterback, with all of those missed picks, is a testament to how good Shanahan and company really are at this. And I know that it's very fashionable to just crap all over Niner incompetence and negligence right now. Again, they aren't nearly as bad as you think they are. They're not nearly as bad as the angriest content creator can scream into his phone about how bad they are. They're not nearly as bad as you think they are. They've been measurably the second most successful team in the NFL since 2019. But I know no Lombardi trophy, so you might as well win no games. Second most wins without a Lombardi trophy is equivalent to lose every single game in every season and still not have a Lombardi. There are fans who think that way. And these are the most miserable people in the world. Like, again, last year was a pretty damn good year. How many people were miserable all through last year as it was a pretty damn good year? And now you get
Well,
to
it's just,
and you have to be even more miserable to outperform your last year misery that now you look back at it, you realize was kind of stupid. So now you really got to be miserable. And, Twitter amplifies knuckleheads.
yeah, whatever. It's everybody's got their agenda. Digital Drew says, I'm about to get my rest advantage with 3 weeks off for the holidays. Happy holidays. Happy holidays, Digital Drew. I will say this. This is our last show before the holidays. We won't be here on Christmas. So we do want to wish everybody.
We're going to do a show on Monday, right?
We'll do a show on Monday. Oh, that's right.
Okay.
We're doing a show on Monday.
Yeah.
But maybe since it is a Friday, we could have a little fun. Do you have because, you're probably like me in that you probably like sports all your life. And you probably, were what do we get Damon for Christmas? He likes sports. So you've gotten every sports calendar, you peel one every day. You've gotten every sports possible gift of all time. Do you have a favorite Christmas present, whether it be sports related or not? Most of them seems like of mine, my memories are, but do you remember the most excited you ever were for a Christmas present and what that present was?
Yes, it was the G.I. Joe hovercraft.
Okay.
The G.I. Joe hovercraft. Now, my parents were just normal parents. I didn't get the aircraft carrier. That thing was like several $100s and 7 feet long. We didn't have the room for it. We didn't have the money for it. But the G.I. Joe hovercraft was something that I played with. I played with it in the bathtub. I took it to my grandma's pool. I loved that G.I. Joe hovercraft. My second favorite Christmas gift of all time was a 6-foot long, almost life-size framed Lamborghini poster, which when I was 9 years old was the coolest thing I had ever seen. This cherry red Lamborghini framed poster. I remember coming downstairs on Christmas morning, and that was propped up against the fireplace. And, little 9-year-old Damon ran to the Lamborghini poster and hugged it. Like, I love that stupid Lamborghini poster. I wish I still had it. I really did. I'd have it behind me. My dad got my dad, it's funny. I don't know how I got into sports that much because my dad was really not a big sports guy. It just, to me, it clicked. To him, not so much. He would watch a big game. He loved the Masters, that sort of thing. But he wasn't a huge sports fan. But one day, because I had a subscription to Sports Illustrated, he opened it up and he saw all of the Sports Illustrated posters that you would be able to, he got me Shawan Dunston, Mark Grace, Derek May, Ryan Sandberg, a poster of Don Zimmer. I had a poster of Don Zimmer in my room as a little kid because my dad went nuts and ordered every Cubs and Bears poster from the back of Sports Illustrated. And so I got a cachet of posters that I love too. And I think those are my 3 favorite gifts of all time. Shout out first Nintendo ever. You never forget your first Nintendo. That's like losing your virginity. Good Lord. That was incredible.
Now, I was a child of the 70s, so my favorite gift ever, and so I you probably start remembering your gifts at what age? 5, 6, something like that.
Yeah, all my memories start about the age of 5.
The Planet of the Apes treehouse was just unfucking believable. It was it had a swing, it had a trap door. It was my sister got the Barbie townhouse, which was a 3-level extravaganza. It was
the dream house. Oh yeah.
She got the Barbie townhouse. I got the Planet of the Apes treehouse, and I love that. I loved Cornelius, the wise ape. He was amazing. He was my favorite.
Dr. Zayers is Dr. Zayas. One of them was a doctor, right?
Yeah, they say it was Cornelius. He was very wise. But no, I love that. I love that toy. The other one, though, as far as greatest sports gift, my dad had a friend, and all my brothers and sisters' birthdays were all in October. So my dad's boss at work would be like, "Oh, you have one kid and who was born in January, and all these other kids are celebrating their birthday." So he would bring me extra presents, and he's like, my dad goes, "Oh, Mr. Agnost has a gift for you, Larry. And it was this box, and I opened it up, and it was 1979 or 1980. So I'm 9 or 10 years old. And it was a team picture of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then autographed headshots. Terry Bradshaw, Lynn Swann, Franco Harris, Mean Joe Green, Rocky Blyer.
Tell me you still got these.
Yes, I still have them. Of course,
good.
They're in terrible condition because the autographs are all faded, and I played with them. I had them.
Right, you put them in the spokes of your bicycle.
Yeah, I mean they're tattered. I have it in my office though. But yeah, he gave me autographed pictures of all the Steelers, and at that point, I was a big Steelers guy, right? It was, I was a Niners guy, but of course, it was the '70s, and Niners were horrible.
Right.
So,
when you're a kid, you're drawn to winners when you're a kid, right? That's
Steelers, Cowboys. That was the big thing. You were either a Cowboy fan or a Steeler fan in the '70s, outside of being a Niner fan. So I was a big Steeler fan, and I remember just sitting there going, "Oh my God!" I put them up on my mirror. I put them in the, it was like I had those pictures, and it was just amazing. So I remember thinking, "Wow!" And then they autographed all these, so it was very cool. That one stood out for sure. All right,
I also remember the first, for one time on Christmas, my dad let me look at the Vanna White Playboy.
Nice.
Thinking all right, Vanna White, yeah, okay. I don't know why. That's probably not a Christmas.
That's kind of creepy. Here is Demo Lenore giving his Niner teammates Christmas presents. Demo, I guess, gave him Louis Vuitton bags. Here we go.
Alex, appreciate the game. Big T.
You taking care of the entire secondary?
Yeah.
That's me right there.
There you go.
Thing me right there. Yeah, I was in the new bag.
I'm sorry. This is why you're having a losing season right here. You got men glorifying purses. Let's go back to the days when men were men and we're not giving each other purses. What the fuck?
Louis Vuitton bags.
Yeah, keep your Louis Vuitton bag. Yeah, I got a Nike bag right here. That's fine. Louis Vuitton bags. The whole damn world's gone soft, Larry.
All right, the big story of the day down here in Ninerland is that Brock Purdy gave his offensive lineman. He bought 10. Or
well, hold on.
He's the voice man. He's the pitch man for Toyota. Yeah, so Toyota probably gave
Brock's corporate sponsor
wanted a bunch of free pub.
Yeah. Brock's
knew that guys like us were going to talk about it.
Yeah. But it's really cool. I mean, if you can hook up cars for 10 of your friends, do it. And it was awesome that Brock did that. They put a lot of money in his pocket, and they made him look great to his offensive linemen for sure. What was it? A combination of what? There were SUVs and pickup trucks, right, Larry? Who's in there, by the way?
Oh no, it was that's just the speaker from that. You're listening to Murph in the background there. He got Sequoias and Tundras. The Sequoia starting MSRP $62,175. The Tundra starting MSRP $40,090. So both nice cars, but we're talking about a guy who makes $1 million a year who just paid basically $1 million in vehicles if he bought them. He didn't buy them; they were gifted. But it's funny. I was talking to Dieter about this last night, and he's like, he just gave his offensive lineman a huge tax bill for the upcoming. I'm like, come on, dude. You've got to be kidding me. You've got
Huge
to be
tax
kidding
bill
me.
to you, Dieter. This is couch cushion money to these guys. They'll be fine. They'll be all right.
Yeah. Well, what would you want, Damon? Would you want the Tundra, the truck, or would you want the more the family truckster?
So
the Sequoia, you got Jack and Ozzy. I could see Jack and Ozzy looking out the back windows in that Sequoia. You seem very much like a Sequoia family.
I would take the Sequoia because look, the minute you buy a truck, you go number one on everybody's call him to help me move list. You don't want a truck. You're working for U-Haul in that moment that you get a truck here in a city. So, but some guys are real truck guys. Like if you're a truck guy, you'd much rather have that truck, even though it's $20,000 cheaper than the other car, because you're just a truck guy. There are truck guys. Maybe a lot of football guys are truck guys too, Larry. But
is it now with the luxury and the twin cab and all that? Is a truck any different than a car? Really? I mean, I'm looking at this Tundra.
Well, the truck part.
You've got basically it's a sedan with a flatbed. I mean, it looks like a 4-seater. Except for the Tundra looks like you could seat 4 comfortably, easily, and then you've got a truck. That's not a truck. That's like both a truck and a car.
By the way, Jacob Gordon referencing one of the great Simpsons episodes right here, the Canyon Arrow. Yeah, get him Canyon Arrows. Look,
or the family truckster. Remember from Vacation?
Totally. They styled that. They built. They built like the Frankenstein of station wagons for the Griswolds.
with like the double-decker headlights.
The pea green family truckster.
He fell asleep in St. Louis.
Wouldn't it be funny if Jake Brendel got a Matchbox? Everyone else got real cars, but Jake Brendel gets a Matchbox. You're my worst offensive lineman.
No, Jake got a Camry because Camry was the highest rated Toyota in the family according to PFF. So Jake gets a Camry instead.
Look, what Brock did was very nice. That's fantastic. It's the right thing. It's the right thing to do. It's a good thing that finally Trent Williams is given a vehicle because Lord knows he couldn't afford one by himself. Thank God. No, but taking care of offensive linemen is an NFL tradition. That is one of my favorite things to look in at. Like, I don't care what, anyone's wearing to a game, like these red carpet things that are going on, guys. I don't care about that, but I do care about what did a quarterback get his offensive linemen for Christmas. Running backs, we're looking at you too. By the way, Christian McCaffrey, he owes dudes some vehicles as well. I know he didn't have a very good year. It's been a funny year for McCaffrey, but last year, hopefully he took care of a lot of his offensive linemen because they put him on the cover of Mahomes.
Mahomes gave his guys golf carts, and I thought that was nice. But now the cars, I mean, how do you top that?
No, well, that's the thing.
What's next?
If Brock is giving away cars on his rookie deal, what's next year going to be? Everyone gets a Ferrari. There's nowhere to go but up. That's why I keep expectations low with Jillian every single holiday. I hardly top last year's gift. So it's just a small incremental step over year.
By the way, yesterday, interesting video by Cowherd, and he had Julian Edelman on, and they were discussing Purdy, Damon, and whether or not, he's worth $55 million. Everybody's so fascinated by this contract negotiation, and there's a bunch of quarterbacks making over 50 million, and most of them, none of them have won Super Bowls.
Did you say 9? Was that the number? 9 quarterbacks?
It's 9, and none of them, I think Burrow's the only one's even over 500 in the playoffs. Everybody else is sub 500 in the playoffs with no Super Bowl rings.
Oh, except for Mahomes.
But no, he's not making 50 million. He makes 45. He's not even on this list. He's not one of the 9. I mean, I'll give you the list. It's Herbert, Dak, Hurts, Burrow, Lamar, Tua, Goff.
Is Aaron Rodgers getting more than 50?
Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
No. That's 8 of them right there. Anyway, and Brock's 4-2 in the playoffs. Brock's, so they were debating and debating how do how much do you pay Purdy and this and that. And Coward's thing is, you know what? You can't be in the $50 million range if there's a lot of ifs about you. If the weather's right, if you have the right weapons, if. And I understand what he's talking about, but it's like, that's already, you don't think there's ifs on every one of those guys, on Jared Goff, on Dak Prescott. These guys, I mean, to hold Brock to some crazy mythical standards that you're not holding these other guys to just makes no sense.
Right. Jalen Hurts lives in a world of ifs. What, come on.
If his offensive line was good, if he had the right offensive coordinator, they didn't look too good last year. So they were debating, and and ultimately they came up with this question. Would you rather have Brock Purdy for $55 million a year or Sam Darnold for 40? Sam Darnold is a free agent. I don't know why they feel like Darnold, could be had for 40 and Purdy's costing 55. These are kind of arbitrary numbers because they're both free agents. But Purdy's thought to be getting, a contract north of 50 million, and Sam Darnold, for whatever it's worth, a lot of people are saying he's going to make less. But if that was indeed the case, and Sam Darnold says, I'll sign with you, Niners, for 40 million. And Brock says, you know what? I'll sign with you, Niners, for 55 million. What are you doing?
I'm keeping Brock Purdy. I want the consistency. I really do. I think that this was, again, for reasons that we have gone over, with great detail already in this episode of Wake Up. And by the way, like and subscribe, everyone. Welcome and thank you. I want to keep I would keep investing in the Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan relationship. I think there's something there. I wouldn't want to walk away from it. Sam Darnold, again, it's funny how Brock Purdy, people worry about him with no weapons around him. Yet Sam Darnold never played a good football season until he gets to Minnesota, and he's got a collection of weapons that other teams are envious of. But you think that you can remove Sam Darnold from Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and get the same dude? You think you can take
Darnold
line? You think you can take Kevin O'Connell and that good offensive line and all those weapons away from Sam Darnold and put him in fucking Carolina, and Sam Darnold saving Carolina? We did that. Sam Darnold couldn't play there.
Going to happen next year if you did get Sam Darnold and you say, okay, Ricky Pearsall, Jacob Cowing, and Debo, I guess that's probably the best that you could hope for because Ayuk will be hurt. All right, Sam Darnold, I know last year you had Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Now you've got these guys. Oh, Sam Darnold's not doing as well this year. Well, why? It's because he doesn't have the weapons he had. So, I mean, it's like, is he really going to come? I thought Sam Darnold, to me, looked like a strong-armed guy who wanted to be good, but whose overall gift of processing is a little bit slower than Purdy, and he just was a half tick behind, and that's what I saw. I mean, he obviously looks good in Minnesota this year. They're having a lot of success. They're 12-2. He's been fantastic. He's still young. He's got a big arm. I know a lot of people want a big arm because Brock's deep ball has kind of fluttered a little bit in the last month. But I would go with Purdy as well. My quarterback room next year would be Purdy, Mordecai, and a rookie.
And TBD.
Give me a rookie. I'll take a rookie. I like Tyler Van Dyke out of Wisconsin. I like Riley Leonard, who's playing tonight against your Indiana Hoosiers. And by the way, that's going to be awesome tonight. I can't wait for that. But I'm a big fan. I don't know how much you've watched at Notre Dame, Damon, but Riley, I love the quarterback you guys have too. He's from Canada. He's tough as hell. But I really love this Riley Leonard kid. He's 6'4", 220. He doesn't have a huge arm. He's got just an okay arm, but he can run, and he's got lots of moxie, and he makes a lot of good decisions at the line of scrimmage. He's really a good football player. I love this running back they have, Love. I like Notre Dame to win this game tonight, but this is going to be an awesome game. These are two of the best teams in college football for sure.
Larry, I like Notre Dame to win this game. I like Notre Dame to win this game tonight. Yeah, I mean, if Indiana wins, it's an upset. You cannot pretend in any scenario that Indiana in its first ever college football play. Not only is Indiana in the first ever college football playoffs, Indiana just had its first ever good season of college football since a Rose Bowl appearance in the 60s. Okay, like this is a year that there's nothing but gravy left for this team. The shot that they got is a defensive line and a group of linebackers that can take your really good offense and do damage to it. If Notre Dame cannot run the ball tonight, and running against Indiana has been hard to do all year, the Hoosiers hit enough plays offensively to be in this game in the fourth quarter. Something can happen. I could also see the scope of the game, the feel of that crowd. I could see Indiana be a bit overwhelmed tonight, the same way that they were a bit overwhelmed in Columbus too. I hope I'm wrong. I'm always fearful. I'm always waiting for the sky to fall on my Hoosiers. And it has only fallen on them once all year. This is the single biggest football game in the history of Indiana University.
It's going to be.
But let's see what happens. And by the way, tickets to get in
and
there
the
tonight?
Spread. But what do you think of the spread? It's Indiana getting 7. I kind of like Indiana with those points.
I don't. I don't, Larry. I'm very fearful of tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking about teasing it down to making it Indiana, Notre Dame pick 'em.
I'm the
I don't know.
the battered spouse in this relationship. Like, I get the yips around Indiana. I get, I'm worried. I'm worried, but because here's the thing, we're also in. It's already been great mode. Here's an email that I never thought I was going to get in my life, Larry. From IU Athletic. I've still signed up for like IU Athletic Department emails.
Right.
And they're like, our allotment of tickets to the game in South Bend is so small, it's essentially reserved for the families of starters on this team. Like the whole, you are not getting it. You're not getting into South Bend tonight. You're not getting into Notre Dame Stadium unless you're dropping like $2-3 grand to get in there. It's just not happening. And the email basically said, and what I can't believe, I never thought I'd get this email. It'll be easier to get Sugar Bowl tickets than it is tickets to Notre Dame. I never thought I'd read that sentence out loud from an Indiana email. It'll be easier to get tickets to the Sugar Bowl if we win this game. And let me tell you, if we do win this game, Carson Beck is done. So George is a little bit in question now. Okay. The winner of this game will have the easiest opportunity to beat Georgia that's existed probably in 3 years. So there's a lot of motivation to win this game because you could be in the college football semifinals. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that Indiana's even in this conversation. I'm already giddy.
There's a bowl game going on right now, by the way. The Cure Bowl is going on as we speak. Ohio leading Jacksonville State 14-7. So there you go.
By the way, the Cure Bowl, everyone should have to dress like an emo with with like combed forward hair, and everyone should have to sing "A Forest" by The Cure, and you don't get a churro, you get heroin and depression at the concession stand. Your cheerleaders
they were good in high school,
cutting themselves. You got cheerleaders cutting themselves. The emo bowl with The Cure. Sure, let's do
Cure. It was a hot band in high school. Tulane in Florida go later today at 12:30 in the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. Gators 10-point favorites there, and then tonight in South Bend on ABC. Number 10, Indiana, 11-1. Number 7, Notre Dame, 11-1. And it's Notre Dame minus 6.5, actually. That's where the number is right now.
By the way, Christopher, I've heard this too, that the new Cure album is actually pretty good. I haven't listened to it yet, but I heard the same thing.
We get good college football this weekend, too. SMU Penn State. That's going to be a hell of a game.
Can James Franklin win a game that we have circled as a big game? He does not win those. Since arriving in Happy Valley, James Franklin wins no big games. So if he doesn't beat SMU tonight, I'm not saying there's a hot seat, but his time is starting to wear thin in Penn State if he doesn't win tonight,
I think the top seeds are going to win. Texas, I think, is going to beat Clemson. I think Ohio State's going to beat Tennessee. So there you go. We'll see. And then, of course, the bowl season continues throughout this week. What do you want to see in the final 3 weeks from the 49ers, Damon? As far as any
dignified defeat.
You want to see defeat?
Yes. Put Put 3 games in a loss season into your loss column and see if you're not in the top 10 when it comes to draft picks next year. Do that. Like, I don't need to measure Brock Purdy and what he can do in this league anymore. Again, any player that you think is starting week 1 next year, I'd like to see them sat in these meaningless, throw it away, experiment deep in your roster weeks of football.
Do you have a take on last night's Warrior game? The Warriors got trounced. I was watching this game. I couldn't believe it. The Grizzlies came out and beat them in the first quarter, 37-15. It was weird. It was like it was the first game of Dennis Schroeder, and there was no chemistry at all.
Curry was awful. That's one of the worst games of Steph Curry's
entire life. They're trying to introduce an on-the-ball player with Steph. And Steph, I don't think I've ever seen Steph look so uncomfortable in my life. It was the first time in his entire career where he didn't score a bucket, where he played at least 15 minutes. He went 0 for 7, 6 of them were threes. I said the Warriors were a 38-win team on opening night. People tore me up for about 10 days as they got off to a 12-3 start. They're now 14-12. What's your read? They lost 144-93. And I've never seen a box score like this where they got beat in every single category. They were minus 45 at the 3-point line. They missed 7 free throws. They got out rebounded 60-36
at halftime.
60-36
at halftime. They had scored 11 buckets from the floor with 10 turnovers. 11 made shots, 10 turnovers at halftime. It was the least competitive Warriors moment since Steve Kerr took over as head coach. It is the largest margin of victory in the NBA this season that the Warriors were beat. If I'm Dennis Schroeder, I'm asking for a trade today. Seriously.
I want out.
Get me out of here. No, look, what I don't like is how Steve Kerr keeps going back to Gary Payton and Brandon Pajemski like there's anything to be found in either one of those players. I don't get it. Like you got Dennis Schroeder.
I don't get it either. In the fourth quarter, I don't get it.
Start your 5 best players, end with your 5 best players. This Draymond coming off the bench thing is just stupid. Stop it. Like Steve is on some bullshit this year. He really is. I don't know why. But Steve is on his bullshit this year, and he needs the way that he needed Klay Thompson to be taken away from him because he became too Klay Thompson dependent. Brandon Pajemski is awful. Okay, I don't. He sucks right now. Stop playing him. What I saw Gary Payton II is
he had 21 last night, but it was in garbage time.
Yeah. Of course, he has a decent night when a game is way out of pocket.
I don't think you can finish with Pajemski because he can't shoot and he can't finish inside. So what's left to do? He's a total non-offensive factor. He basically his only thing he does good on the floor is get to some loose balls and rebound and kind of recycle it around. He can't shoot from the perimeter with any consistency, and he doesn't even try to finish inside because he doesn't have length and he can't finish. So it's like, what would you say you do here? I mean, what's his role? You can't be just a rebounding small guard who doesn't defend. I mean, they need to trade him. I mean,
Damon's reading Jim Park. I don't even know who Jim Park is. So no, I'm not. I pass no thoughts of anyone else's off as my own. Please stop.
You're such a Jim Park guy.
Every
time I hear you open your mouth, I think that's Jim Park.
There's Jim Park again. Who's Jim Park? I don't even know who that is. Does that guy cover the Warriors? I don't know. Who is
old man Park's kid.
The Parks boy. Yeah. Look, I don't even know who that is. Maybe I should follow him. If he's look at it this way, he and I probably think alike here. That game was
Chan Ho.
That game was so disappointing last night that I am now in the official, I don't care what you do. After watching that game last night, I'm not here to tell you that Jimmy Butler's too old. Don't trade for that guy.
I don't want Jimmy Butler.
I don't want him either, but I'll take Jimmy Butler over what I saw last night any day of the week. And, Jonathan Kuminga, you're either going to play him 30 minutes or trade him. Figure it the fuck out and do one or the other. Like this on the fence with, we're going to make a move, we're not going to make a move. This is going to happen.
What do you think of this move? What do you think of this move? I thought of this one the other day because the Warriors need a big man, and they need a big man who can shoot.
Vucevic?
Yeah, it's a deal for Vucevic, but it includes Kuminga. What do you think of Kuminga in a deal with some other salaries for Vucevic and Giddey? Because the Warriors clearly want to find some more on-the-ball guys. And if you're going to have – because you want to free up Steph in his twilight years to play off the ball, use less energy, not run all over Timbuktu, but play off the ball a little bit more and shoot the ball because he's the greatest shooter of all time. So how about you get a big point guard like a Giddey, and then, whether you keep Schroeder or not, okay, fine. But go get a guy like that, let him run point at sometimes, play Steph off the ball, and then get another big man who can actually really shoot the ball. If they get a Vucevic type big who can shoot, I mean, that's an incredibly valuable piece, and he's an older player, so the price tag's reasonable. I think they're going to want Kuminga, but that's why you ask for Giddey, because Kerr liked Giddey in the draft. I like Giddey. I think Giddey is a 6'8" point. I think he'd be the perfect player to play opposite Steph in Steph's twilight, and then especially if you had another shooter like Vucevic. To me, that
I'll do that trade. Sure.
If the game plan is to try to separate or try to surround Steph with some pieces that can help him contend for that fifth title, I think Giddey and Vucevic get him there. What do you think?
Yeah, I was talking with Tyler on Wednesday. That's the thing. I want to see the Warriors execute a trade that gives Steph the best chance to maybe win a title in this year or next year. And after that, guess what? This franchise will fall on its face. Okay, there is no, and everything post Steph Curry was great as well. No, that doesn't exist, folks. You will run into some rough seasons in the post Steph Curry era ahead. I believe that. No dynasty ends with, and everything was fine after that. It really doesn't. So I don't think that there's any way to prevent the screeching halt of success at some point, which means you better milk as much success out of this as you got right now. So, yeah, Pajemski, Kuminga, any young player, get rid of them all. I don't care anymore because Steve's not going to play him, or he's going to play him in such a weird way that they're not quite effective. Go get players that can help Steph win now, and I don't care whose feelings are hurt at the end of it. I really don't anymore. So, yeah, I don't think there's no two timeline. There's no, we got to keep Kuminga because when Steph's gone, Kuminga's going to, no, my ass. I don't know. And how about this? If you trade Kuminga and Kuminga goes somewhere and he turns into a great player and he's an all-star, good for him. I'm not going to hold it against the Warriors. They need to do something now.
Just don't, I don't know. I don't, look, you traded Poole for Paul, okay, because you wanted to get out of the ugly contract that you gave to Jordan Poole. But that was still a 23-year-old player for a 38-year-old fucking player. That you don't want to make those kinds of deals. You're going to drive your team into the ground if you keep making deals like that. So no, I will not trade Jonathan Kuminga for 35 or whatever years old he is, Jimmy Butler. And I certainly am not trading him for LeBron, as some people have suggested. So no to Jimmy Butler, no to LeBron. But the Warriors definitely need to make a move. And if they don't want to pay Kuminga, they probably do have to move him. If it's for a deal that's, give me a young piece back, like a Giddey, or if you want to load up for like a big deal for a Zion Williamson who's broken physically at this point, but if you feel like you can get him fixed, he's a 24-year-old intriguing player. I want to go with a younger player if I can, if I'm going to move Kuminga. I don't want to move Kuminga for somebody who's going to be out of the league in 2 years because you're going to look horrible. He's only 21. I mean, imagine what he's going to be at 25. That's still 4 years from now. The 25 years old. So, I mean, this guy's going to be around for a while, and you're going to look really stupid if you trade him for a guy who's 35. So I just hope that if they do move Kuminga, they get a young piece to the puzzle, like a Giddey, like a Zion Williamson, or, there's a couple of younger players.
The trade that you make better have Steph back in the Western Conference Finals, right? I mean, that's it. Yeah. Like I don't care what Kuminga becomes in his next location if the Warriors are back in the Western Conference Finals.
One baseball note, the Astros have made news this morning. They have signed Christian Walker. The free agent jumps to the Astros. That's a little bit of a surprise. He was seeking a 4-year deal, and he got big money. He gets 3 years, $60 million, according to Bob Nightingale. So he leaves Arizona for Houston. And the Giants still don't have a first baseman. They're talking about Corbin Burns.
Get that guy out of the division. That's good. Corbin Burns is what everyone wants under their Christmas tree if you're a Giants fan, right?
Well, that's what they're talking. But you know what? I was thinking last night, I was looking at the Padres are in a bad financial way right now. What do you say you bail out the Padres and take some money out of their situation and get some talent back? So, like, for example, they're trying to move the Padres are trying to move a number of players who make money because they're just hurting financially. And the Giants have nothing to trade, but they also have a lot of money. They're trying to move Luis Ariz, who can play second and first, and he's a Venezuelan 27-year-old kid who's won batting titles. Yeah, I mean, he's a great contact hitter. The Giants strike out a freaking ton. How about you take Luis Ariz and maybe some of the bad money on Jake Cronenworth's contract? Let Cronenworth play a little first base until Eldridge gets there. And for taking those ugly contracts, get Dylan Cease, who they're also shopping. And to me, if I'm the Giants, that's a much better way to go about it than to give Corbin Burns, whose stats dipped last year as far as strikeouts per 9. His velocity's down. You're going to give Corbin Burns a Strasburg contract. Now, I like Corbin Burns, don't get me wrong, and it'll look good for 2 years. But that contract could look fucking horrible down the road. I'd much rather go to the Padres and say, hey, how about this? I pay a little bit. I'll take the Ariz contract off your hands. I'll even take some of the Cronenworth money off your hands. I'm not taking all of it because it's a big money long-term deal. But I'll take some of your bad money. You throw me Dylan Cease, and I'll throw you a couple Marco Luciano type prospects, guys who are, have potential, but they're hardly world beaters for your efforts. I think I'd rather see the Giants do and Buster and Managian do a creative deal like that. And then you look up and you've got Dylan Cease, and you've got a right side of the infield that's got a batting champion hitting second and a guy holding first base down for Eldridge. And Eldridge comes up in June. You play Cronenworth at a different spot, and you move these guys around. I mean, Ariz could probably play a little bit of the outfield. Ariz can play first base. I mean, you need a contact bat, and Ariz is it. And Cronenworth is only 30. Ariz is 27. They're right in their prime. I know Cronenworth's contract is fucking brutally ugly, but
how bad is it? I mean,
bad. It's bad, Damon. I'll tell you what it is. I got it right here. This is what his contract is. It's bad. He's owed. I mean, you're going to laugh at this when you hear this. This is Jake. Oh my God,
he's got an $80 million contract.
He's got a massive contract. Here it is. Let's see this. You're going to laugh when you see this, but it's actually makes sense if you get them to pay the money. Okay, so Cronenworth is a 30-year-old veteran. He's under contract with the Padres until 2030. He's set to earn $80 million over 7 seasons in the agreement. So what I'm saying is, you take Cronenworth off their hands. It's a bad contract, but he's a 2-time All-Star.
Right. Here's the thing, Larry. Is that a bad contract? Like, it's, you look at any contract these days and you get a sticker shock, and then you think about it. $12 million a year, $13 million a year is what they're paying like utility infielders these days. So it's really not that horrible of a contract. I don't know.
I mean, he hit 240, which is kind of like 280 in the old baseball.
Right. To lead the team in batting.
17 homers in a big ballpark, 29 doubles, 3 triples. He drove in 83. I mean, Cronenworth you'd be doing them a favor if you took Cronenworth and Ariz money. But what I'm saying is, take those guys' money. They're still useful players, and then get Dylan Cease. And then you don't have to pay Corbin Burns at the top of the market. And then see if you can get this Roki Sasaki to, say no to the Padres and Dodgers and say yes to the Giants.
That's the thing.
If
Go
you
get
can get
Sasaki. Just spend money and go get Sasaki and show them how good
it's not about money.
Got a hell of a catcher who can frame. You got the best framing catcher in baseball. Sasaki is the right guy for you to break in with.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to just sell Sasaki on being, do you want to be against Yamamoto and Ohtani and really develop some? I mean, imagine, because this guy Sasaki is nasty. I mean, he is awesome. This kid's fantastic, and it's not going to be about money because he's younger, so he's got a limit on what you can pay him. It's really just going to be about selling him on what he can make off the field and selling him on being part of the Giants. I mean,
my pitch would be this if I were Buster Posey and Manassian, I'd just say, look, you can be another Japanese player on the Dodgers, or you can be the biggest Japanese player in the history of the San Francisco Giants. And if I'm the Giants, you got Jung-Hoo Lee, add this guy, start doing business internationally in a way that the Dodgers are enjoying. It makes sense.
If I'm Rob Manfred, I absolutely am wishing that the Giants get this done. Why? Because you need somebody to rekindle this West Coast rivalry. The Giants, part of it is dormant. We know LA's monster. And it's great for baseball to have great teams, but it's really great when they have rivals.
Yeah.
And if the Dodgers have the Giants, if this guy's dominating the Dodgers and striking out Ohtani, that's going to be the bigger story than if they're all on the same team winning 12-1.
It was offered up this year like, oh, the Dodgers' biggest rival is the Padres now. And look, they had a very interesting year against each other. Sure. The Dodgers and Padres are not rivals, kids. They're division rivals, but they're not like heart and soul rivals. There's only one heart and soul rivalry west of the Mississippi River, and it's Giants and Dodgers. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So that's what matters. That's what matters. And yeah, the Giants need to live up to their side of this rivalry, because right now they're getting lapped by the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're down several laps to the Dodgers.
Let's hit some supers before we jet. This is not a super, but it's kind of good. Daniel C. Fuente says, Larry was right. The Warriors are sorry. Thank you. Thank you for that one. Fuji Simeon says, IU tonight, Damon. Larry knows this as an SI guy, but it's tradition for San Francisco Catholic schools to get a half day off whenever a Catholic school wins a big game, usually for basketball and March Madness, or Notre Dame wins a big game, big football game. Go IU.
Well, hey, if I can, if Indiana can send every kid at St. Ignatius and Reardon to a full day of school, I want that.
Fuji Simeon. Larry saw the SI men's and women's basketball team season tribute to Bob Drucker. Love Bob Drucker, the late Bob Drucker. But my Crusaders are going to beat your SI Wildcats. Hello, kiddies, this season. Oh, look at that. Don't call us kiddies. How dare you? How dare you call my Wildcats kiddies? KR says, Merry Christmas, Damon and Larry. Love the rest analysis. Niners never stood a chance. 2025 is our year. Still faithful. Go Niners.
Look, here's the deal. You come back. You hopefully have another good draft. You get an off season behind you. You get everyone into camp. You got a last place schedule working for you, a schedule that's not working against you. And yeah, come back next year. This year was just built to be funny and sideways from the moment it kicked off. And how about this? We all got guts. Everybody knew in their gut something was wrong all year long. All year long, it was in our gut. This just ain't right. So get out of the year, get to another year. This isn't a bad football team. This is a good football team that had a bad year.
The Niners need to change their whole thinking. They don't need one more great player. They need their version, John Lynch's version of the 86 draft. They need to trade back, get a bunch of picks and stock up, because they need a lot. They really need a lot. They have to have a productive draft this offseason, and they need it to be a 15-player draft. KR says, Merry Christmas. Okay, still faithful. I was going to say, KR, you sound too, emotionally solid for sports talk. This is not your spot.
Way too adjusted. Thank you.
Way too adjusted, way too normal and regular. You're never going to make it.
How about some of these coming in on my end of the chat, all right? I mean, God damn.
Fuji Simeon is very good for the show. He says, Larry, you were right about it, how the NFL distributes merchandise rights to teams in foreign countries. 49ers share the UK and Mexico, but don't get Germany because of how big the 49er brand is. And it's unfair for small market NFL teams. Yeah, this is the international expansion and marketing of the NFL. They've awarded teams territories. The Niners have 2 because of their iconic nature. They have both Mexico City and London. And this has only happened in the last 2 years where teams have been able to market themselves. And I believe Vikings are big in Germany, and Germany's a big hotbed for the NFL, by the way.
Yeah, look, here's the thing. The 49ers don't need any partnership in any international community for fans to be interested in 49ers merch and gear. The Niners are a brand unto themselves that doesn't need any permission to do business internationally. Like a formal opening up of business and merch stores and all that stuff. Yeah, maybe I'm sure that helps, but the Niners are just a monster. Like this,
they all have been.
Titans.
But the distinction was last year was the first year. Right. The NFL markets itself as an entity. This last year was the first year teams could independently market themselves, and now they're kind of competing for the markets, to be honest. Jay Mills says 1 injury away from Larry at cornerback and Damon at running back. How disappointed would Niner fans be? And this corner has been toasted for the 14th time today, and he's just vomited on the field.
I wonder if I could even get the handoff from Purdy before a defensive end was burying me.
I would slip down.
Could I even get to the ball? Could I make it to the handoff, much less the line of scrimmage, much less beyond it?
It's also proper goals. Like if you go into the play saying, look, the goal of this play is to not be paralyzed, then, you can go through it. You can get through it easier.
How many carries, Larry, how many carries do you think it would take you to gain 10 yards in a football game, in an NFL game? Do you think you could get 10 yards in 100 carries?
No. I mean, I could dive forward, but even then I would probably try to slide forward. It would be bad. It would be bad.
You'd be leading with the crown of your helmet and you would have a neck halo injury within 3 downs.
It would just be bad. It would just be bad. Fuji Simeon says, show the schedule for next week. Obviously no Wednesday show.
How about that?
There'll be no Wednesday show next week.
We will be doing a show on Monday next week, on Friday next week. And I have booked the one and only Lawrence Krueger to join me as my second quarter guest during this weekend's watch party. Is that what we're having right now? I don't know what this is. But we will be hanging out to watch the 49ers Dolphins game together here on YouTube. And Larry will be joining me in the second quarter this week. So that right there is our Christmas gift to you.
We get this one from Diego Sanchez. Frustrating starters routinely have to go down for us to know what we have, more than solid players backing them, not just running back, but the team all around. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I'm excited to see Izzy Abanaconda. I'll just give you a little hint. When you guys see him, you're gonna like him too. Fuji Simeon says, Larry, Damon, any holiday sweaters? It's Festivus. No holiday sweaters. No holiday sweaters. Not
Jillian has a deep collection of holiday sweaters with that. She's got Slay All Day, SLEIGH, Slay All. She's got a whole bunch of girl cutesy.
Sweaters are feminine. I got to be honest. I don't wear sweaters.
I don't wear sweaters. To Ratto all the time too. Hey, Ray, that's feminine.
I mean, if you button them down, you're Mr. Rogers, and if you're pullover, I don't know. It's just sweaters, sweatshirts. Okay, sweaters, not so much.
Never been a sweater guy myself either.
Though girls, I like girls in sweaters for sure.
So,
Fuji Simeon.
I mean, you want to do a sweater tits breakdown?
I mean, sweaters look good on women. They're just not look great on
USC song girls, when you can hardly see the end of the U or the C, and there's just a big S in the middle, and they look like Superman boobs. That's part of my libido right there.
That's a great sweater. The SC sweater's an iconic sweater.
The USC sweater on the song girls. It works.
Of course, we're creepy as hell for even noticing that.
By the way, did you read the story about the guy who was the ESPN college game day producer who got let go from ESPN because he was difficult to work with and he creeped a lot of girls out, but it was his job. He was like the main producer of game day. So this guy held a huge status at ESPN. And there was one game day where he's like, get the Notre Dame cheerleaders off the fucking show. They're that ugly. and people are like, well, that's wrong. No, it's not. No, that's not wrong. The television's a visual medium. For him to say, get the ugly cheerleaders off my show, that's called producing, folks. It might hurt feelings, but it's called producing. That's the way it goes.
Fuji Simeon, all I want for the holidays is to not be disappointed by the Giants. LOL. Santa, can the Giants get some good news, i.e. Burns or Sasaki? Yeah, that's asking for an awful lot. Fuji Simeon says, saw the video of Purdy gifting Toyotas to the O-line. Side note, it's a holiday miracle. Sosa and the Cubs reconciled. He's welcome back to Wrigley Field. Oh, good for that.
He should have never been as ostracized as he was. But let me also say that Sammy Sosa did everything to ruin that relationship on his side of that thing too. I don't know why now, like he's coming back into the fold, or why this is a harmony all of a sudden. Somebody I think is desperate for attention and money and hasn't been talked about in a long time. So he's looking to come back for one more embrace of his fame and popularity. I don't know, but Sosa and the Cubs, it ended weird. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. So yeah, a little kumbaya, put it together. They also have to sell tickets to, you know how the Giants Fan Fest is free? In Chicago, Cubs Fest is not free, and they're looking to sell tickets.
Cubs just got Kyle Tucker. That was a nice little move.
Yeah.
Fuji Simeon says, Larry, I prefer the Chevy Tahoe. I drive the Chevy Tahoe. I'm loving the Chevy Tahoe. My wife said it was too big, but you know what? Now she's gotten used to it. Fuji Simeon, nothing tops Ohtani giving Joe Kelly's wife a Porsche in order to get number 17 from him. Next year, Purdy gives Cybertrucks with new contract money. Does he give up Cybertrucks? Possibly. Those are ugly, by the way. The
Cybertruck is officially too big and it's too weird looking. I don't know.
What's it look like inside? I wonder.
It looks like a Tesla. It's a steering wheel, and the whole thing is a blank canvas.
Is it super dark in there, or is it bright?
I really don't know. I wasn't.
Is it a window?
I wasn't measuring the foot candle lighting service.
Well, it looks like a spaceship. It looks like it would be very dark.
Yeah, but it's a very minimalist interior. Like, have you ever been in a Tesla?
Yeah.
It's an iPad and it's a steering wheel, and that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So it's very minimalist.
I like a minimalist taco.
If you are a Cybertruck guy, what you are telling everyone in the world is that you're not really a truck guy at all. Because there's no guy who is a truck guy who is also a Cybertruck guy. The Cybertruck, I believe, is the number one way to tell the entire world I'm a huge poser. That's what it is.
Yeah. I don't have those. I don't have those takes. Fuji Simeon says, "I'm shocked. IU football, not basketball, is making waves."
You want to know what's rough? Mike Woodson's not a good coach. I mean, this is obvious. Mike Woodson's done a nice job recruiting, transfer portal, and putting together a decent roster. But when it comes to Mike's got to make substitutions and coach tonight, it is a disaster. So Mike Woodson might have to be fired here before Indiana basketball knows how to win basketball games again.
Chudley 716, go Indiana. I love your show, even when you yell at me.
Thank you, Chudley.
Fuji Simeon, Larry, if Giddey trade happens, just make sure the Warriors tell him to stay away from minors at parties. No scandal, please. Not sure the Bulls would trade. I don't know that story about Giddey.
Yeah, Josh Giddey was dating a woman that was a little too young to date.
Fuji Simeon says, Larry, does this mean Goldschmidt to the Giants for 1 year? God, I don't want that. Come on, fine, Giants, do something better than old Goldschmidt.
Paul Goldschmidt? Paul Goldschmidt?
I don't want Paul Goldschmidt.
Oh, the king of AT&T Park?
No, I don't want him.
Dude,
He's like, it's the same reason I don't want LeBron. I don't want these guys that I rooted against all these years.
Goldschmidt can be used as a DH. He rips.
I don't like the Giants. I don't like the Giants. I don't care. I don't like the Giants as a halfway house. You know, you don't stop by the Giants to pick up a check on your way out. That was the 70s with Dan Dreesen, Enos Cabell, Al Oliver, David Green. Everybody stopped by for one. Eric Davis stopped by for one last check. No more halfway house for the Giants. Get young players. Fuji Simeon says Steve Cohen will fly in chefs to cook for Sasaki. Roki is a picky eater, i.e. Japanese food. Please, I don't want Dodgers to get him. The talk is Dodgers or Padres, but you know what? Maybe the talk's just talk.
Look at it this way. The city of San Francisco is ready to take the Pepsi challenge with any and all Japanese cuisine offered in any other city in the United States. Let's go.
Let's do it. Fuji Simeon, can't believe the A's are actually spending money. What's this A's you speak of? And Jorge Luis Sotelo. Oh, wait a second. Sorry about that. He says, University of Miami alum here, rooting hard for the Hoosiers to beat the Catholics tonight. Still planning on moving from Miami to Chicago.
Well, you're going to need a winter coat. So, but you'll be moving to a town that's actually got a soul. Miami, a little soulless. So enjoy the move to Chicago. And your man Curtis Rourke has just been a blessing for the Hoosiers. So let's go. Let's shock the world. Let's beat Notre Dame in South Bend. It would be unbelievable.
I've always wanted a truck, a Cybertruck. So that's my kind of truck. I told Tom the only kind of truck I'd ever drive is a Cybertruck.
I would get. First of all, Ralph would have hated Elon Musk. Is there any doubt?
Or loved him, one or the other.
Yeah, I think Ralph hates.
I don't like him vis-a-vis my television, but you know what? At the same time, it's mutual admiration. I think he would admire me if he knew me. I admire him. Vis-a-vis. I watched him vis-a-vis.
The Razor. Happy holidays, Razor up there. Do we have one more super here?
I think one more came at the end here, Larry. We got this right here.
Digital Screws in the house.
Digital.
What's up, Digital? He says, rather smash my balls between two large books than sit in a Cybertruck. It's rolling birth control. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Rolling birth control.
On that note, we call it quits. Everybody have a great Friday. I got Niners practice coming up here. Then Shanahan's going to speak. Check me out at 6 tonight on Niners Nightly. It should be a good show. Curtis Robinson's going to stop by. He's the Niners Walter Payton Man of the Year candidate. And we'll tell you how you can support Curtis Robinson, but great dude. And I caught up with him in the locker room earlier for about 10 minutes. So we're going to play that on the show tonight. So look forward to that. Damon, what do you got cooking today?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing else. I'm going to go upstairs and start mentally preparing myself for Indiana Notre Dame tonight. I think I'm going to go to my buddy Greg's bar, the Halfway Club, out on Geneva. I will be thinking about Sam's Chowder House at any and all times, but we're sort of going back to Christmas hours here on the channel, Larry, with it being the holiday week. My mom is in town. The Duchess is here for the next 2 weeks. So the boys got their grandma from Florida in town. So they're giddy. I'm giddy. Our house is full of cookies and grandmas and good things. And I'm doing a prime rib for Christmas Eve dinner. Gonna grill it. Gonna put a little smoke on that bad boy. It's gonna be great. So horseradish sauce will be prepared.
Ooh.
It's gonna be great dinner. And we'll be dropping some videos, popping in, doing some shows, but we're rolling back to Christmas hours here again. When you're working for yourself, if you can't take Christmas off, what's the point of that? So
yeah, exactly.
Thanks to everyone who throughout this year has been so supportive of the channel, who has liked and subscribed to Damon Bruce Plus, who has been here to watch Wake Up with me and Larry, whether it be once a week, 3 times a week. We always appreciate your eyeballs on the channels. So thank you very much. Larry, thanks as always to you and Kevin and Amy and your entire family. I wish you all a Merry Christmas. And I know we're doing a show again on Monday, so we'll get all this in.
We'll do this Monday.
Everyone have a great weekend. And thank you
go.
so much.
Enjoy college football this weekend. Go Niners
Go
in
Hoosiers.
Miami.
Go Hoosiers. That's all that matters. Go Hoosiers.